In this demonstration video, we'll be showcasing how to look up a voucher code brought in to a store or a restaurant by a customer. We will be demonstrating how to validate that voucher code, look up the code, see how to redeem the code, as well as mark the code as redeemed and add a reference number to the particular redemption. In this SMS example, we can see that there is a rand value associated with the voucher. We can see that there is a particular brand mentioned in the SMS. We can see that there's an expiration date to this voucher, and we can see that there's an actual voucher code in the SMS. This voucher code is what we will be looking up. When you go to the unique URL in terms of the website in order to look up this particular voucher code, and we will share this voucher URL with you in order to look up. It will be an easy bit.ly link in order to provide ease of reference. You'll be able to log in with your unique store username. This unique store username will consist of the area where your store is in, as well as the restaurant or store name. So if the brand, for example, is brand X and the store is in Sandton, it will look like so. If there is a store in Umhlanga, it will be Umhlanga at brand X. There'll be a unique password for each particular store. You'll be able to log on and you will be able to see a verification option in order to verify your particular code. You can click on that and you will have an option to input the code in order to verify it. Now, if a customer comes into the store with that particular voucher code that you saw in the SMS, you can look up that particular voucher and you'll be able to see that it is a 300 Rand voucher, so you will know the value. You can see the voucher code and you can see that the code has been issued and it is still valid. So we can now mark the code as redeemed. So at the end of the customer's purchase, or at the time of purchasing, or at the end of the meal, you can now mark the code as redeemed in order to validate that 300 Rand will be taken off of the customer's transaction. You can click mark as redeemed. Are you sure you want to mark it as redeemed? And you can input your own reference. For this particular example, I'm going to put in a till slip number as my note. This till slip number or this note can be your particular reference. So if you want to have a reference code or reference number, a waiter's ID, a store ID, a transaction ID, manager's verification code, transaction date and time, table number, reservation ID, it's completely up to you. I will now mark it as redeemed. It will confirm that the code has been marked as redeemed. So previously when it showed me that the code had been issued and was still available because it showcased it in green, now if I enter the exact same code again in order to look it up and search the code, you will now see that it shows that the code has been redeemed. It'll show the date that it has been redeemed and also show which store it has been redeemed at. So I can see that it has now been redeemed at the Sandton store, and it was a brand X voucher and what date it has been redeemed. And I can no longer click mark as redeemed. If, however, a customer came and had tried to use the same voucher that was used at a previous store, I can look up a voucher that was used at a previous store and it'll tell me that the code has been redeemed. So this code was redeemed at another location. So it was redeemed at the Umhlanga store on the same date and time. So potentially the customer had used it earlier on in the day and is now trying to redeem it at the Sandton store. So that's why it is not possible in order to be redeemed and the voucher would be rejected. For this purpose, it is very important to note that the voucher system that is used here is in order to mark the codes as redeemed. All vouchers have to be marked as redeemed on this particular portal in order to verify the repayment by head office or by the franchisor in order to reimburse the particular store or the franchisee. The way that the voucher is then marked as redeemed, or the discount that you're given the customer at store or on or in the particular restaurant is then done on your actual POS system. This can be done on the POS system by a few different mechanisms. This is completely up to your internal system and your own internal capabilities. Our system is not integrated into your POS or into your point of sale till mechanism, so it's completely agnostic from that perspective. You can either have a item that is listed as your voucher, so you can have a negative rand value item. So if you want to have a minus 300 rand item A, for example, and when a customer redeems one of these vouchers, you can then have it as input minus the item A, and then the customer it'll deduct 300 rand off of the particular product. Or you can manually deduct 300 rand off the customer's bill or transaction, or you have the option of actually physically having a voucher button, which certain POS systems have, in order to deduct that particular voucher. In this case, it would be a 300 rand voucher. So that would be manually done at your POS system. This is in order to verify that the same voucher hasn't been used somewhere else, and in order to validate that it has been used at your particular store. If it's not verified at your particular store, the same customer can go, you take the same voucher and go to an alternative store and use the same voucher multiple times. So it's crucial that the voucher is clicked and redeemed at your particular store. The head office or the particular retailer, or if it's one standalone store, would get a reference at the end of the month that would showcase these are the vouchers that had been sent out to the various customers, when they were issued, the redemption date and time, and which store they had been redeemed at. So if they are being reimbursed, so if brand X is a franchised outlet, then the franchisor would be able to see this list, see how many redemptions the Sandton store has had, the till slip references, which would be their mechanism of verifying that they are legitimate references, and then they would reimburse the Sandton store with each one of those references. If the Sandton store did not mark all the codes that had come into that store, then the Sandton store would not be reimbursed for all of those particular vouchers that had come into store, because then they can't guarantee that those had actually come in, and then the store could just go and mark multiple transactions saying that they had hundreds of the particular brand X voucher campaign come into their store and be redeemed, when in reality they actually did not. So this mechanism is in order to guarantee that they are legitimate claims. We will be providing additional support if there is any need for support outside of any queries that may come in. We'll be sending through our customer care email address as well as SMS line for any queries that may arise. And we'll be here obviously to assist with any additional support or any additional queries that may come out of this as well. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to contact us with any additional information that you may require.